I'm shooting another episode today of I've Got a Guy. I have a passion for old houses, how to live in them, how to buy them, how to sell them. Today we're going to talk with John and Charlie with Envision Lawn and Tree. I see them now.
Hey, Ellen.
Hey, Charlie, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
John, good to see you. So, we're here in Brookside, and we have some interesting challenges. So tell me some of the challenges about dealing with the yards and trees outside these houses.
So since Brookside is kind of an older neighborhood, there's been plenty of growth, and a lot of times the trees have like dead limbs on them. You want to make sure that those are all taken care of, and that the leaves are all gone.
Before it snows.
Yes, before it snows, and you want to make sure that those are cleaned up. And especially with older houses, there's a lot of kind of like drainage issues, and that's definitely something that you want to get taken care of so that you're not getting water into the basement.
Right, right. So as we're dealing with leaves in the fall, do you guys come in and handle that service for people?
Yes, so we do the whole thing. So you give us a call, we'll come in, blow them all out, and get rid of them.
One of the things that we notice with Brookside that a lot of homeowners forget to do is they forget to actually look up at the trees. When it comes into the fall, the homeowners always call us and they say, you know, I moved into Brookside, it's a beautiful area, but I didn't realize how many leaves actually fall off these trees. It's kind of a big thing to actually look forward to because there's going to be a lot of moving parts to it.
Well, one of the things that I do with my buyers is that we walk around the whole house, and I try to tell them that we're going to have to deal with leaves, you know, before or after the sale, because it's so important so that you can have grass in the spring. So you guys have something to mow.
Right.
If you don't get those leaves off, you actually suffocate the grass.
So we have a lot of trees because we live in a park. So what are some of the challenges that we have with trees here in the Brookside neighborhood?
How old the trees are. It's kind of the biggest thing that we run into. I mean, Kansas City sees a lot of different weather throughout the year, and especially during the winter, we can have freezing rain. Freezing rain, snow, anything that's on those branches can cause them to come down.
Okay.
Limbs hanging over the houses, over the power lines, and especially with power lines exposed, limbs that are hanging over them seem to come down quite often.
So our trees are old and they're aging, so what else do we need to do with them?
I would just make sure before buying or selling a house, one of the things that all agents will make sure is those tree limbs are taken care of. If you are selling a house, obviously go out, if you see limbs overhanging the house, have them removed, because more than likely the incoming agent for the buyers is going to recognize that and going to say that that is something that they want.
If we're doing a house and it's not in the middle of spring and we don't have leaves, do we know what's dead, what's not dead on a tree even though it's winter?
Yeah, actually we can tell. I mean, it just kind of all depends on the tree and how it looks. We actually look for structural damage kind of more in the winter, so we can see what's more likely to come down. I mean, in the summer when your tree's full of leaves, it's kind of tough to tell.
Okay,
and
that's good to know.
You can always call us and we'll come out and assess the trees and tell you exactly, what needs to come down and what can stay and all that.
See, this is why you guys are so wonderful. So sometimes trees are just finished. They have to come down. How do you handle that?
So we take care of everything. We can, we can trim trees, and we can also take them out, if they've been struck by lightning, or if they're just old, if they have a disease, we can come in and take it out, grind the stump up, and...
So how big a tree can you guys handle?
How big of a tree can Brookside produce?
I love that. So we have these ginormous trees, and you take them down. What do you do with the wood when you're finished?
The wood actually goes to a recycle. I mean, it's a yard waste. It's all naturally decomposed, and actually a lot of times it ends up turning actually into the mulch that you buy from us.
Oh, I love that. So it's kind of a recycling issue, and
exactly.
And we like that from a green standpoint.
Eco-friendly.
We're walking up to the house with a client. What should they be looking at?
Well, there's an old saying, how a house looks on the outside is usually how it is on the inside. So you really want to, if you're selling the house, you want to make sure that you've got fresh mulch, that your shrubs are all trimmed up, everything like that. So it's looking good, so that when they pull up, they're like, wow, I really like the landscaping here. This house looks good.
My house wasn't like that when I bought it, and I bought it anyway, but then I called you guys and you fixed it. So if I have a client who wants to list their house and I call you, what are you going to typically suggest?
We come in, we basically clean up the yard. We're going to present it to where a homeowner comes up and says, wow, like I want this house. Whether that be, just adding new mulch, trimming it up, removing the limbs, removing some limbs that have fallen or leaves, or even possibly planting a couple of new shrubs. to give it that appeal.
So I get phone calls from clients and they worry that the basements here are too wet in Brookside. So I like to do the easiest things first. And how do you're my first phone call for that. What are we doing there?
First off, and when you're looking at a house, pay attention to the grade. I mean, the grade is kind of the biggest thing, and it's not only just the grade, but it's also the water that's coming off of the gutters. I mean, do you guys, is the grade proper? Do you have a negative slope into the house?
Okay, explain what grade is. I mean, is that how level the dirt is, or explain that to me?
Grade, you're simply looking at where the water's going to run. Water's going to run to the lowest point.
Okay.
So if you have a negative sloping yard that's coming into your house.
Okay, so we want it to slope away from the house.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So the easiest thing to do is just add dirt so that it's sloping away from the house, that the water's going down and away.
So talk to me about some of the things you do to help with drainage besides just the grading.
Well, obviously grading is one of the biggest factors, but if you still have a negative slope and you are trying to get it away from the house, one of the other things that we help homeowners with is French drains. You get that water away from the house. We establish where it's coming from, put a French drain in, and move that water away, and whether that be the gutters or from your neighbors.
Explain what a French drain is or how you install a French drain.
French drain's pretty simple. You're taking the water and you're going to run it through a pipe and disperse it somewhere else.
So do you bury it in the ground or is it up above the ground?
Lots of ways to do it. French drains are typically going to be underneath the ground. We can make dry riverbeds to navigate the water through somewhere else.
Okay.
It just kind of, it's unique to each house in Brookside,
Okay.
just like the houses are.
So if a homeowner buys a house, what are some of the first things that they can do to improve the exterior of their home?
First off, it all depends on the time of year. Coming into the springtime, a lot of homeowners want to see that green grass. Call us early enough in the year and we can get you a fresh, brand new lawn, new sod, possibly
Okay.
a new landscape.
Seeding as well is important too. If you don't
Okay.
need sod, it kind of depends on the conditions of the ground.
And you kind of help to babysit some of that sod and planting thing?
Yes,
So
most
you'll give them
definitely.
some instructions?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I always tell my buyers that if there's a problem, call me first. Well, you're my next phone call, and tell me when I call you what you can do when there's an emergency.
Sure, so when there's an emergency, depending on what it is, we can get out there, very, very quickly. Usually it's within a day, but if it's a tree or something that really is a big issue, then we typically will get out there quicker, so.
And of course, that's because you're my guy, right?
Of course.
So it's great to see you guys today, and I know that it's always a challenge to break free from all the crazy that you do. You have so much on your plate, and of course now it's a little winter, and then spring is just around the corner. So thank you so much, and thanks for being my guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Ellen. And if you guys need anything else, feel free to reach out to us at 816-788-0808. Thanks.
This has been another episode of I've Got a Guy. I'll see you around the neighborhood.